Hello, family. Welcome. Grand Rising. Great Rising, Grand Rising family. Welcome to the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show. Hello, greetings. I hope everybody's having a phenomenal day. Check in, let us know where you're hailing from, family. Today is Friday, January the 10th. My daddy's birthday. May God bless him in heaven. 2025, and the time is 11:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Happy Friday! Yay! Hi, family. Peace. It's good to see everybody. Somebody emailed me today and they said that they were listening to a podcast and the Geico commercial came on, and they said at the end of that Geico commercial, we heard your voice saying Happy Friday. Yay! So I was like, what? Somebody's mimicking and using my voice? Oh, well, anything to raise the vibrations of the family. So check in, let us know where you are hailing from, family. To God be the glory. Thank God it is Friday. Happy Friday. Yay! Today we're going to talk about having an abundance mindset. You can thrive during this economic recession or depression, whatever they're calling it. You can survive and thrive, and you can even invest for the future. You can store up wealth right now with whatever you have for your posterity, meaning for your future generations. So keep checking in. I'm so glad to see everybody, family. I see you all saying hello. The reason why I wanted to talk about this, I see you, I will maintain. I see you, Gigi. I see you, Jay. I see you, QC, K, Sarah, all of our soul family members just checking in. Melissa, I see our family members, Meek in Love, and on Instagram, Chief Max in the house. Welcome, Chief Mac. He said this is an exciting time to be alive. It's when you're connected to the right people and source, he says. So, family, I decided to come on today because oftentimes I tell people you can stay positive. You can keep a high vibration. You can have a good, healthy mentality. But people say, how can I do that when the economy is bad? We're worried about what's going to happen with presidential elections. Thank God President Trump just got certified, but some people are saying that he will reject the inauguration in order to turn the republic back into the hands of we the people. Some people are saying he's going to be the first arrest, because we've heard years ago that the first arrest will shock the world. Some people would say anything could happen to prevent him from becoming the president that will step forward over our republic. Now, we do know that the United States Incorporated is defunct and bankrupt. So Trump is serving as a transitional president, leading us into the republic. But the republic is already here. It's already standing. It's just that we're waiting for the complete end and demolishing and destruction of the deep state. So keep checking in, family. I'm so grateful to see you all here. Thank you for being a part of the podcast. Oftentimes when it comes to thriving, you have to start with the mindset. And what I mean by start with the mindset is we've been through so much as a soul family that our mindset or our state of mind may be, not so positive. We sometimes feel defeated. However, if you read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits for Highly Effective Thinking, or 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of the first things Stephen Covey, who was a very good and wealthy businessman, one of the principles he talked about is having an abundance mentality. That means you have a mindset that there's more than enough on earth. You know that the earth is the Lord's or the Creator's and the fullness thereof. You know that there's more than enough food, land, prosperity for everybody. And even if you don't know it, tell yourself that there's more than enough. And you have to sometimes do what they call a paradigm shift, or shift your thinking from a scarcity or lack mentality to a positive or abundance mentality. So that's my task here today, to let you know and to remind you there is more than enough land for everybody. There's more than enough food. There's more than enough water. There's more than enough wealth. There's more than enough gold, silver, palladium, platinum, all the things that you need right here on earth, on Mother Earth. She has provided for everybody, but people in power has done certain things to keep us in economic slavery. So let's start with being positive and knowing that there's more than enough, and that the Creator is going to make sure that we're able to thrive. So let me start with the podcast, looking over some of my notes. When the student is ready, family, the teacher will appear. And I strongly believe and know that that's the reason why we've all gathered here today. And that's why we're a soul family, because we're ready to thrive. We're ready to help each other. We're ready to be successful. Some of you are already successful and living an abundant lifestyle in your own right. I desire for all of us to be right there. So when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And when you have an abundance mindset, you will start to call in the wealth and the things that you need. So again, thriving is a state of mind. To thrive means that you are flourishing. How can you flourish or grow vigorously during this economic repression or depression? Now, all of us know that there's going to be a debt jubilee at some point. Zero Hedge even came out with an article that says we are to expect a debt jubilee or a jubilee of biblical proportions. You guys can Google that right now. I've shown you that. A debt jubilee of biblical proportions. And then they asked this question in Zero Hedge in that article, are you ready? So we know that there's going to be a jubilee where all debts will be erased or forgiven. And that is based on biblical principles or Hebraic principles. And many different nations did this, where every 7 years, you would forgive the debt, and you would let your slaves go, or indentured servants, because indentured servants used to work for you in order to pay off their debts. Every 7 years, that will happen in the Hebrew faith, the Hebrew tradition. And I know that because I'm Hebrew and I was raised Hebrew, keeping all the dietary laws, the seventh-day Sabbath, all of the feast days, the festivals as prescribed in Leviticus 23, the dietary laws. I've never eaten pork to my knowledge. I've never eaten, certain meats that the Bible and the Hebraic tradition says you can't eat. So I'm very familiar with Hebraic customs and traditions. And again, every 7 years, you were supposed to let go of your slaves, forgive all the debts, and let your land rest, so that you can allow your land to recuperate from all of the cropping that you did during that time period. So it's every 7 years, and then you account 7 times 7 years. And on the 49th year, you were to prepare for a big Jubilee celebration that we call the Platinum Jubilee on the 50th year. So you do a debt Jubilee on every 7 year, and then on the 50th year, you also do the same, but you have a huge celebration. Many economists, as well as Hebraic traditionalists and shaman and seers and prelates, understand and understand that we're living in a debt jubilee right now. So we're going to have a debt jubilee, and everybody's going to thrive and flourish vigorously. But I thought about coming on today to tell you about how you can do things in terms of thriving right now. We don't have to wait on the government. We don't have to wait on President Trump. You don't have to wait on Earth Alliance or the Galactic Federation, although we all appreciate them and we're excited about them. But there are things that we can all do right now. One of the ways that people were thriving and surviving during the 1929 depression was that they bought up depreciated assets, because when there was a depression or a recession, markets crashed. Many people don't know that BlackRock, Blackstone, and some of these other very, very big companies are in trouble right now. They are on the verge of filing for bankruptcy. Evergrande, which is the largest real estate company that was owned by the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, actually bought up a lot of land here in America and all over the world. They filed bankruptcy 2 years ago, and they were forced to liquidate their assets. So you have Evergrande, you have Blackstone, State Street, and many of these big corporations that bought up land and resources in America, brought up real estate, complexes, houses, and then they shot up the prices, and people could not afford to live in them. And now that people can't buy those houses, or can't rent them, they're dumping the houses and the real estate and the land back onto the market. So this is a pristine, opportune time for anybody that has a savings. Now, I already know what some people are saying. I don't have savings, Kia. I'm just trying to make it one day at a time. I'm trying to eat. I'm trying to pay my rent here. I got you, okay? Everybody can do what they can. So let me talk to you a little bit about how you can get into buying depreciating assets now. So Real estate is being dumped onto the market. Let me take a breath here. Something that's really I'm passionate about, and it's important to me, is that we have to start being more mindful and less selfish, because I'm going to talk to you about some things that's going to take you not being selfless. Okay, you're going to be selfful and purposeful, but you're also going to consider your family and your community. A lot of people are struggling right now paying rent. Please just give me some time. Keep checking in, family. And if you are interested in supporting my work, and just keep listening. If you want to send a Cash App donation, my Cash App is $MamaKia13, MAMAKIA 13. Thank you all for those of you that have been continually pouring into me as I pour into you. A lot of us, family, have bought into the individualistic mindset and way of living. And so what you see is everybody is struggling. I know the prices are high. I know inflation is through the roof, but everybody doesn't have to struggle. Look at how some of these other communities do when they are experiencing some type of hardship. They move together. Stay with me. If you're paying $1,000 in rent, your son is paying $1,000 in rent, your daughter is paying $1,000 in rent, your mom is paying $1,000 in rent. That's $4,000 in rent that's being paid to somebody else. Speaking of mom, my mom just called. Okay. Most of us are paying more than $1,000. So most of us are paying at least 15 or more. But let's say there's 4 or 5 family members paying $1,000 a month just for rent. Why is it that we are okay with knowing that mom is over here struggling, sister's over here, brother's over here, child is over here, grandparent is over there, all paying $1,000 for rent, when you can put that $1,000 together and you can live in a house? So that's $4,000 or $5,000 in rent. Stay with me, please. Not including electric, water, cable, internet, all your eating, all your bills. Some of you with just a couple of kids, adult kids, you're paying at least $10,000 a month to live on your own and struggle. Why? Why are we okay with that? Somebody help me. Why are we okay with that when you don't have to? Yes, you have to be selfless. Yes, you have to have an abundance mentality. Yes, you have to deal with things that you don't like to deal with. And I understand everybody's not able to do that. I get it. But you know, one thing that I've learned by consolidating money, consolidating bills, consolidating what we have, is that you're able to thrive as a unit or as a family. So I've come upon many, many channels that talked about, and I know people that talk about how to live together communally. I've discovered many channels that show you how you can build a co-op. I've come upon many communities that pool their resources together and they build tiny homes on lots. Some of you might say that's not in my budget. Okay. But why are we allowing 4 and 5 and 6 different family members to struggle in different parts of the country or the city when you can be in 1 or 2 houses or 3 houses in the same area? One of the ways I've been able to allow my children to save on childcare, which costs at least $1,000 a month each child, is by sacrificing some of my own desires to be able to babysit so that they can work. And then that puts more money into our coffers. Now, some people are going to say, I can't do that. And some of you really literally don't have family or friends you can do that with, but you can do it with friends, some of you, and some of you can do it with family. I've seen it happen. Okay. One thing that I've never been allowed to say in my lifetime, not in my over 50 years, especially not around my mom, is I can't. When we grew up, if you said I can't, you got backhanded in the mouth. Now that was in the old school days when parents just, picked up whatever and popped you. So you got backhanded. So I still have some type of thoughts that come to my mind when I say I can't. Family, instead of saying I can't, start saying I can, and start asking yourself, how can I? Because when you ask yourself, how can I? Then you're opening up opportunities and you're allowing for the universe to set up certain arrangements so that you can thrive. When The student is ready, the teacher will appear. And the moment you realize that barriers do not exist is the moment you become successful, because barriers are illusions. I'm going to tell you this. The way I discovered this, and I'm going to encourage you all to do this, is one day I went on a fast for a period of time where I just stopped eating food and I just drank water. And this was a 14-day fast. Every year I do at least a 24-hour fast, a 3-day fast, a 7-day fast, and then if I'm feeling really bold and brazen, I'll do 14 days or more throughout a year. And that's just withdrawing, sacrificing food, entertainment, and all that to go within, to pray or meditate, whatever you guys call it, to talk to my higher self, to communicate with the ancestors and the creator and ask them to pave a way for me and show me directions for certain things. I admonish you and encourage you to seek your ancestors, because your ancestors are very, very concerned about their bloodline. These are the people that have transitioned before you. You can ask your ancestors. Some people are like, I don't believe in that. Well, if you're praying to Jesus or Muhammad or Allah or somebody outside of you, that is, if Jesus is your ancestor, you can also, I'm not saying you have to pray to somebody that's a part of your bloodline, but you can ask them by going within, show me what to do. One particular time, I was going through a challenging time in my life, and I felt like I had barriers. I couldn't seem to graduate with my doctorate. I just wasn't making these emotional and psychological breakthroughs, and I was struggling a little bit financially. And so during the fast, I asked the creator and my ancestor, why am I having so many barriers? Why are so many things happening to me? Okay, I wouldn't say I can't, because I knew my mom had taught me not to. I said, why can't I? And in the middle of the fast, while I was talking to my higher self, the creator, my ancestors, I heard an audible voice say to me, the moment you realize that barriers do not exist is the moment you will become successful, because barriers are illusions. I got up from my bed, I woke up from my sleep, and I started rejoicing and shouting and giving thanks and praise to the creator, to my ancestors, for just those little words that confirmed for me that I was the one putting barriers on my life. I was the one who had the ability to break through these perceived barriers that did not exist. All I had to do was know that this wasn't real. Okay, I had to know there were opportunities. So then I sat down and I started writing. I don't know what came over me except for the spirit of God, the ancestors. My family is calling me. But I wrote my dissertation, which is the research that you need to write in order to graduate with your PhD. And I took it back to my committee and they said, I don't know what overcame you, but this is not the same woman that we saw in this program. It has taken you 10 years to get through this 4-year program for whatever reasons. I had gone through a lot. It was sickness, relationship problems, but I was allowing that to hold me back instead of knowing that I have power over my circumstance. Okay. So the moment you realize that barriers do not exist is the moment you become successful, because barriers really are illusions. You can create whatever it is you want in your reality. You just have to ask yourself, how can I? So again, during the Depression, people asked themselves the same thing. And so what they did was they bought up depreciated assets. And I know people say it's hard for me to live. Okay, let's start with one, doing a budget. Most of us need to learn how to do a budget, and we need to look at our needs versus our wants. Everything that we do and everything we have is not necessarily a need. Is it a need to get your hair done every week, every month? Is it? Okay. Is your future more important than a hairdo? Can you learn how to do it yourself? Can you barter with somebody else? Stay with me, family. We're going to get into the juicy stuff later. Can you take some of that money that you're using to get your hair done or your nails done to invest in your future by buying depreciated assets? Can you forego eating out and learn how to cook, or have somebody in your family that will do the cooking for you, especially if you live in one house? Can you do that? Can you do communal living so that you're not struggling to pay the bills? Okay, so look at your needs versus your wants, create a budget, and start actually allocating certain monies for certain things. For those of you who know about what is that? The piece, what is it? Financial peace. Who is that does the financial peace? What is his name? Somebody tell me the name of the gentleman that teaches you about financial peace. I can see him in my head right now. But he talks about putting certain monies in an envelope. Put money in the envelope for rent, put money in or a mortgage, put money in the envelope for food, put money in an envelope for electric bill, money in an envelope for car, for insurance, or whatever. And that way you only use that money for those specific things. Yes, Dave Ramsey, thank you so much. For those specific things. Now you may or may not, screen sharing was canceled, like financial peace, but there are certain principles that you can use that will help you. You only use the money allocated for food. So if you don't have enough to eat out, because this is the money that you have allocated for food, you don't eat out. I'm telling you, then you can save that money and use it to pay off debts or to buy depreciated assets. Stay with me, family. Use envelopes. Put money in those envelopes to allocate certain bills. And I know some places don't like cash, but hey, I'm going to do what I have to do in order to do what's in my best interest and the best interest of my family. So you want to have an abundance mindset. You want to, if you have to do a paradigm shifting experience where you tell yourself there's more than enough, you have to do that and create a budget and live according to that budget. You also should consider consolidating and co-opting or living together as a family unit. And let me tell you why I'm saying this, because a lot of us are struggling unnecessarily. A lot of us don't have to be struggling the way we're doing. One of the reasons why certain communities are thriving is because they actually have a marriage culture. And I'm not telling everybody to get married. Okay, it may not work for you, or to have a covenant with somebody. So if you are not able to live with your mom and your children or your grandchildren or friends or whatever, some people have decided, look, we're not going to be single and out here and struggling. I think I put up the wrong thing. I did. And so because of this, somebody said, I love this. Thank you. Because some of us have elected to struggle and to live alone, we're not thriving. Some of you on Instagram can't see this, but I have a chart that shows the median household income for different ethnic groups. At the top, you have the Indians, East Indians, who are making and bringing in $100,000 at least per year per household. You have the Filipino Americans who's making $83,000. You have Taiwanese who's making $74,000 a year. You have Sri Lankans who's making $72,000. Malaysian Americans who's bringing in $70,000. Chinese Americans who's bringing in at least, this is the average, $69,000. White Americans are not even at the top. Caucasian brothers and sisters, they're only on average bringing in $59,000 a year. And as you go down this chart, Black Americans, African Americans, indigenous, whatever you want to call us, Negroes, colored, people that look like me, are bringing in only $35,000 per year on average. And we wonder why we're struggling. At some point, we have to stop saying white supremacy is my problem. The man is the problem. The government is the problem. You're the problem. You're the problem. No, at some point, we have to take accountability for our own lives, look at the decisions that we've made, turn away from those decisions that have been harmful, and do something different. So a lot of these families that are thriving because they work and they're married. They work, they have two incomes, and they're married. Now, if marriage isn't for you, I feel you, I understand. If you don't want to get an education or get a job, and some of this stuff is going to become irrelevant because a lot of jobs are collapsing, but you're still doing some type of work, even if you're creating your business. Speaking of creating your business, we are in the middle of an economic repression or depression, and some people have found a way to thrive by creating their own business, by using their skills, like me, podcasting, in order to make money. Use your skills. But let's get back to this chart. East Indians are bringing in over 100,500 a year. Now, we can come up with all kind of reasons why a lot of these people that have come to America are thriving. Some of them get benefits. Some of them get easier access to things. Some of them get opportunities that some of you say, some of you may feel like you don't get. Some of them have jobs. What I'm saying is we know that happens, but let's think about and focus on the things that are within our control. Some of us need to enter into covenant, and we need to get back into having a marriage culture. Now, you may not want to have a marriage with the state and have a license because you understand or overstand that the marriage license is an agreement between you, your partner, and the state. But there are other ways that you can do marriage. It's not my job to tell you how you can do that, but in the old ways, you would do it according to your tradition. You would write it in your family Bible and your family different important documents or books, and then you would put it on record at state courts or certain courts, just to put it on record that you have entered a covenant. You can also, if you're worried about marriage and you have assets and you think she's going to leave me and take my money, you can put your assets in a trust. Contact Chief Mack. He is on the live right now. You can please contact him or an attorney, whatever, it's up to you, or a lawful person that practices common law. Put your assets in trust, because your assets will be owned by the trust and you will control the trust. And that way you can control how your assets are divided in case of divorce, your death, or anything, and you will be able to even control your assets from the grave. There are ways around everything, family. There's always a ram in the bush. There's always a way. God always provides a way. You just have to know that there is a way. So if you're afraid of marriage or entering into a covenant because you have assets, put your assets in the trust. Okay, some of you are out here lonely. Why? Why are so many people committing suicide? Why are so many people taking psychiatric medications? Why are so many people saying I can't thrive, when you can do something such as enter into a covenant agreement with a partner, a companion, a marriage, or bring in your children, your grandma, somebody that can watch the children so you can go to work, so that your children can learn some principles and ethics from the future generation that preceded them. Why are we putting out so much money in the nursing home when we can nurse our family members? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying it's time to think outside the box and stop blaming the government, the white man, this man, that man, the civil rights, that. Don't you get sick and tired of complaining? Because I sure enough get sick and tired of hearing it. So there is a way we can survive and thrive, family. It makes no sense that African Americans are at the bottom of the barrel when you can study other cultures, study what your ancestors did, and mimic that. Cohabitating, entering a marriage culture. I never allowed my children to tell me they couldn't go to college because institutions were racist. I never allowed my children to tell me they can't go to college because I can't afford it. Because what I condition them to think is that you will go to college. It's for those of you who believe in going to college, and you will thrive. And I made sure it happened by educating them. My family started a school. My sister-in-law started a school with just a little money. We wrote grants. We started a school. We pulled our resources together and we taught our children. We had all been to college, and some of us were still in college. Some of my brothers-in-law hadn't been to college, but they brought their skills and their gifts to the school, and we trained and taught our own children. Then even when they were in public school, I was there going to the meetings. I knew all of my children's teachers. I knew the principals, the the assistant principals. I knew the counselors. I knew the freaking janitors. I had all the email addresses. I gave them my phone number, and I was very active in my children's education. I didn't use the fact that my husband and I had separated as an excuse to keep me away from doing anything, because I asked myself, how can I, instead of saying I can't. There's no way in the world, or no reason in the world, some of us should be struggling when we have opportunities that we need to avail ourselves of. Okay. So I was active in their schools. And even though I was working at some point full time before I worked for my family school, I volunteered in the schools. I went to the PTA meetings. I created extracurricular activities for the children. I worked with some of the brotherhoods and the fraternities because the principal in the middle school was a Q. He was a Omega Psi Phi member, and he had something called Men of Standard. So he got all the boys together and he had meetings for them, extracurricular activities for them. And I said, I'm going to align myself with you. And I'm working for the medical school. And I'm going to create opportunities for these young boys to come to the medical school and learn how to work on cadavers and do some rounds with doctors and talk to people that are working in medicine, even though I didn't work in medicine, but I trained and educated some of the pre-medical students, and I created and coordinated programs for medical students. So I brought my children, not just my children, but those children in the schools on campus so they can see that they have opportunities. And I work with medical students and assign them to mentor the children that were in the schools. There's always a way. But when I wasn't doing that, after I did that, I worked in my family school. Was it hard to work for your family school? Absolutely. Because you're talking about me working with in-laws. And when my husband and I separated and divorced, we worked things out later on, but we divorced, I still work for the family school. Did it hurt my pride? It could have if I had allowed it to. Did I have to see him every day? I chose to see him every day. I chose to deal with whomever he was with, whatever my mother-in-law was doing, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law. Why? Because my community and the success for our children was more important than my ego. See where I'm going? It took a lot of work. It took praying. It took fasting. It took me saying, look, you need to get yourself together, Kia, and you need to do whatever it takes so that these children could thrive. You need to repent for your actions. You need to even take accountability for some things that you might think that you was not guilty of. Take accountability for it. Tell your children, I take accountability for me and your dad being separated. I take accountability for us living in financial hardships because we made certain decisions. That's my fault. I take accountability. I'm going to work to make that up. You see what I'm going here? A lot of us adults and parents think I don't have to say I'm sorry. I don't have to ask for forgiveness. I don't have to take accountability because I can do whatever I want to do. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. Well, what about the children? What about the community? What about the elders? What about the people around you that are suffering and struggling because of the decisions that you and I made? Do we not care? Okay, because when you look at that chart and you see the African Americans are bringing in $35,000 a year and your kids are shooting up each other and they're hungry and your girls are thotting at school and wearing all type of clothes that are inappropriate for young ladies and having sex in the back of somebody's car, then you're going to have to take ownership for something that you and I could do better. Okay, and stop blaming the government, the president. Oh, when is Trump going to save me? When is the Galactic Federation going to save me? When is all these economists who are saying the dinar is going to revalue? When are they going to get it right? When are you going to get it right? When am I going to get it right? When are we going to get our act together and start taking accountability for where we are and the decisions that we've made? Aren't you tired of hearing all these podcasters talking about, well, the women aren't doing this, that's why we can't get married. Or they'll steal your assets, that's why we can't get married. Aren't you tired of hearing that? So if you desire to be married, find out what it is that you could be doing as a woman and what men need and qualify for it. If you're a man and you want to be chosen, find out what you need to do and qualify for the woman that you want. Some of us are searching outside of ourselves for things that we haven't qualified for. And then we get angry. If you spent 20 of your years chasing skirts instead of chasing your education, instead of developing yourself as a man, instead of getting a career, and now you're 50 and you have nothing and you wonder why a woman won't choose you, it's not because the white man gave her a job or gave her an education and now you're stuck and because during civil rights, stop. Take some ownership and accountability. Maybe it's because for those 20 or 30 years you was chasing skirts. For those 20 and 30 years, you weren't developing yourself as a man, then listen to your father. Okay, maybe as a woman, instead of saying these men aren't crap, they can't do anything right. Maybe that's what you and I are looking for instead of looking for the man that will build something with you or will love you until the end, be a good father. Doesn't matter if he doesn't bring home six figures. Do you see where I'm going here? At what point will we start to take accountability for who we are, where we are, and the decisions that we've made? Because if you spent 20 or 30 years chasing a bag, sleeping with a whole bunch of people, racking up a lot of debt, making certain decisions, having fun, good on you. Well, now you're sitting at a certain age and you're wondering why you haven't been selected or you don't have what it takes to select the appropriate person. Entering into covenant and marriage is only one way to build wealth. Some communities have figured it out. And yes, they've had drugs in their communities, but not to the extent that we have. Yes, they have gun in their communities, not to the extent that we have. Yes, we all know that the FBI has created files that, so they studied us. Speaking of the indigenous African-American autogenous people, they've studied us. They know what type of drugs to put in our communities that work against our biochemistry. They know that if you give a woman certain opportunities, she can easily leave her husband and get government housing, yada, yada. But at some point, just because somebody give you an opportunity to leave your husband doesn't mean you can leave or you should. I'm not here to tell you what to do. What I'm saying is we know these things have happened, but when you start to reject what they have put in your community and you start to embrace love and embrace wisdom and take an accountability for who you are and what you're going to do for yourself, your children, your posterity, meaning your future generations, your elders, that's when you grow. The moment you realize that barriers do not exist is the moment you become successful, because barriers are illusions. They give you illusions of barriers by putting programs into your psyche. Racism, division, sexism, you're Black. Black is a status. It's not an ethnicity. It's not a nationality. Now it's a status saying that you are dead, that you are a slave. You have no legal lawful standing. So now you're calling yourself Black. That paragraph and program takes on a life as its own. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So now I start acting like a slave. I start acting Black. I start wearing thought clothes. I start listening to the music and playing out the violence, the sexual activity that was on the radio because I told myself I was Black. I accepted and embraced these paradigms. I'm Black, so I have to accept and listen to critical race theory. Okay. And on the other side, I'm of European descent. I'm white. So maybe I am better. Maybe those people don't care about who they are. Maybe my ancestors did have a bunch of slaves and I should feel better or I should feel guilty. All of this, we decided and allowed these paradigms, family, these different teachings and indoctrination to infiltrate our bodies and our minds and our mentality. But and they become barriers and psychological barriers that become a self-fulfilling prophecy. The moment you realize, though, that barriers do not exist is the moment you become successful. I'll go back to how I taught my children. You will do well in school. I made sure of it. I did homework with them. I sat down with them. If there was something I didn't understand or understand, I would ask somebody in my community to sit down with them, okay, to do their homework. I volunteered in the schools. I created programs for them, after school programs. There was no excuse for me. Did I sacrifice? Absolutely. My children can't give you stories of seeing men running in and out of my house because my vagina was not more important than the success of my children, than their psychological and emotional development. Okay. My ego wasn't more important than the development of my children. My ego wasn't more important than how my community thought of me as being Kia Pruitt. My needs weren't more important to me than how people thought of me as a person growing up in the community. So yes, I made sacrifices. And then when my sister-in-law came and said, we're going to need to start our own school, we started a school. She got grants and she said, whatever you can make outside of this, what we're building, I will match it. And I'll do you one better. I'll pay you hundreds of dollars more than what they're paying you. And I worked in the school. My mother-in-law worked in the school. My brothers-in-law worked in the school. People that divorced from my brothers-in-law worked in the school. Okay. So my sister, my blood family worked in the school with my in-laws. People in our community, even for free sometimes. because we were thinking about the emotional and psychological development of the children. Okay, now people are not having children. They're not getting married. Maybe y'all don't care. I care. What about the future? Okay, it's because we've embraced the programming. All men do not cheat. Stop it. All women are not vultures and after your money. Y'all don't even have gold. Stop calling women gold diggers. You don't have gold. Stop it. I mean, let's be realistic and start afresh. So we need to do a mentality shift, a paradigm shift. We need to develop an abundance mindset and say there's more than enough. The earth is the creators and the fullness thereof. Mama has enough food, enough land, enough resources for us all. Okay. And reject all of that programming that has not helped us. Come on, somebody. If this is helpful, then say it. Drop a 1 in the chat. If you think I need to be talking about something else, drop a 2 in the chat and tell me what else I need to be talking about so that we can survive and thrive during this economic repression and depression. It makes no sense that we're still waiting on Trump to save us. It makes no sense that it's 2025 and we're still bad mouthing and blaming colonists that came over here. It makes no sense that we're still fighting against each other, family, when there are people that are here thriving in America and elsewhere. This is a real issue for us that we are fighting. Thank you, Sister Sheena. Someone says, helpful, there are no Black internets. What did Chief Max say? Chief, what are you saying? Because I know you have something to offer here. Oh, he said this is helpful. Thank you. Family, so let's get back to how you can survive and thrive. Starts with your mind. Develop an abundant. You're welcome. Somebody says, thank you, Queen. Who is that? That's Meekin's love. Thank you, sweetheart. Your mentality. Sometimes you have to change your mentality. Develop an abundance mindset. There's more than enough. Okay. Do a paradigm shift if you have to. Reject all that programming, that critical race theory. You can't because you're Black. We were a slave. We can't. When in the 1960s, they kicked out the father and now the woman got benefits and that's why we're struggling. Just reject all of that. Throw it out the way because it's not helping you. Throw it out. It happened. It's the past. Okay, leave it in the past. Women are allowed to get education. They got degrees. They got jobs. That's why we can't thrive as a man. Stop it. Stop. What can you do to thrive? Oh, your great grandfathers had kids over here. They had 2 families. That's why I'm not getting married. Just stop. What are you doing? My grandfather didn't have all these fun families y'all talking about outside the house. He didn't beat up on my grandma. Mr. wasn't a real person in my life. Maybe that happened in your bloodline, but why don't you let it stop with you? Clean slate. Clean slate. Because look, I'm an educator. I'm a higher education. And I was an administrator before I got sick and came off my job. Okay. I heard all the stories. I can't do it because I'm a man. And, the white man will give a Black man a scholarship, but he won't give me one. Then I asked these gentlemen to whom I was speaking, because my whole career was devoted to helping men classified as Black go to college, stay in college, and graduate from college. That's my whole college career. I am the only African-American female in the area of college success and retention of Black males classified as Black. The only. Okay. That's my claim to fame. I graduated with honors because I focused on that. So I'm asking these young men, because I was a mentor of young men. I work with the Student African American Brotherhood called SAB. I work with Money Medals. Thank you so much, Sister Theo. Brother Theo, or is that Sister Theo? I can't see, for the CashApp blessing. I work with men. Why don't you? So you're saying that the Black women can get scholarships, but you can't. Have you applied? You know what? Most of them would say, no, I haven't applied. Why haven't you? Oh, because they won't give it to me. Have you applied? No. Do you know about all these scholarships that exist? No. Have you looked? No. Did you talk to your counselor? No. Did you talk to your parents? No. Did you talk to the pastor? Did you look for a mentor? Because you're old enough. If you're 13 or older and you can be out here trying to talk about sex and slinging drugs and playing games, and Kiki and Kakan, you could be looking for a mentor. But do you know that we've allowed our children to be unsuccessful because we continue on this rhetoric? Stop it. Did you apply for a scholarship? Did you apply for housing on campus? Did you ask your parents to help you? Did you talk to people in the community that have a degree? Did you talk to your parents? No. Then stop telling me about what somebody did in 1962 when we're living in the 2000s. I'm not saying things that didn't happen in the past. I'm saying that we've taken on these talking points and allowed them to shape our mentality and our frame of reference. And now it has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I can't get married because I saw what this man did to that person and I saw my mama. You don't know the full story. You weren't there. And some of you need to stay out of your parents' business and your grandparents' business because you didn't see everything that happened. It's none of your business, all the things that happen. Stay in a child's lane and focus on what you need to do to qualify yourself for the person that you want to enter into covenant with. But all of these excuses and reasons why we can't thrive is exhausting and it needs to stop. But as long as they continue to perpetuate critical race theory, these documents in Hollywood about racism, enslavement, all this crap, the woman being the bed wench to a president or a Caucasian man instead of being married, they will show the African-American or woman classified as Black as the bed wench or the hoe to a man or a mistress, but not a wife. Well, turn off the television. Don't you get tired of complaining? I can't, Dr. Pruitt, because because of this and that and the other. Turn off the television, turn off the radio, take accountability for your own life. When I grew up, my mother said, no television for y'all. She cut the cord. The one time she had a television, no television for y'all. You're going to learn multiplication facts. And when she couldn't afford the facts, she wrote them out. You're going to read. And so we were in a project. She had 5 children as a single mother, a teenage mother. Okay, the projects in Cleveland, Ohio were so bad that they built up fences around to keep the crime in and people on the outside that would try to help you out. My 15-year-old mother, who didn't even know how to read encyclopedias, somehow in the projects, on food stamps and welfare, found a way. By going to a thrift store or whatever she had to do, the mosque found a way to get encyclopedias, had us to read them and write her reports. And if she saw one mark, one eraser, one tear, one thing that looked out of order, she ripped it up and said, do it again. And some people say, oh, that's too much. That's abusive. But you know what? Today, I'm on a straight and narrow. I'm the type of one, I'm no nonsense. I'm loving, I'm kind, but I'm about my business and I love order and discipline with my children, my adult children, my grandchildren, everybody around me. I might need to learn to loosen up a little bit because that's something, that sometimes prevent me from fully getting along with everybody. I like order. I like discipline. My body's disciplined. My private parts are disciplined. My mind is disciplined. My speech is disciplined because my mama turned off the radio and threw out the television. And when I became an adult, I said, Mom, did you understand the stuff you had us writing? Because you didn't even have a GED or a high school diploma. She said some stuff, most stuff I didn't understand, but I knew what neatness looked like. And I told you somebody else can thrive and do well with C's, but you're going to have to get A's and A pluses. And that's what we did. Because the higher your expectation is the higher the achievement. Set high expectations for yourself, your children, and your posterity, and live from that place. And if you've made mistakes or decisions that were ill-advised, or maybe you even enjoyed the things that could be classified as mistakes and you don't regret it, it's okay. Okay. Some things you're not going to, it may be a little challenging to bounce back from, but the best way to bounce back is to take accountability. I made those decisions. I did that. I did this. Some things I could have done differently or better. I take accountability. I take responsibility for what I did. And some of us need to have those conversations with our children too. I take responsibility. I could have been a better parent. I take responsibility, even though, leaving certain situations might have seemed the best for me. I'm still going to take accountability for the repercussions. Okay. And when you have those discussions with your children and your family members, that sets healing, the motion and the ball of healing in place. I know what I'm talking about. I've done it. I practice it. I've taught it as a counselor and as a life coach. A lot of us go to counseling, but only to talk about our problems. That's my issue with psychotherapy. Talk, 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 talk. I'm a life coach. I don't want to just hear you talking. I want to know what your solutions are. And then we're going to write down the goal, and we're going to set SMART goals. They have to be specific, measurable. You have to be, I think A is accountable. They have to be measurable, time tested as well. You want to achieve these goals. I want to lose 50 pounds by, within 365 days. We're going to set SMART goals so that you can achieve your overall goal. I don't have time to sit around, listen to you complain all day, talk about your mama did this, my daddy did this. I can't thrive because my mama called me a name when she was, burdened with the responsibility of parenting. My daddy wasn't there, so I can't. Okay, I'm going to listen to you for a few sessions, and then I'm going to say, what's your overall goal? Okay, because you're going to have to take accountability for your own life. Let's say this is your overall goal. Let's set some SMART goals or some steps to achieve your overall goal. I will cheerlead you through that process. And then within 10 sessions, maybe 20, you need to have accomplished that goal, or else our relationship is done. And I can send you on to a psychotherapist that wants to sit and hear you talk about your problems all day. No nonsense. No nonsense. Don't accept it from my children, my grandchildren. I don't want to hear it. I'll entertain your excuses and reasons for a few minutes, and then I want to know what's the overall goal. So what I'm saying is we have to do some mind changing, some paradigm shifts, take accountability for our own lives, and stop blaming the government, the man, the wife, the husband, this person, that person, and look within. So one of the ways you can consolidate and stop struggling so much is by living together in one house, building a compound, or pooling your resources, however that looks. This is doable for some families. I can't tell you who can do it. I just don't know why we're okay with your 4 children living out here paying $2,000 for rent when you can be living on a compound. Okay, but some people might say, Kia, my credit is not in order. You can rent a place, or remember what I said, when a student is ready, the teacher will appear. God always provides a ram in the bush. There's always a way. Credit will be done away with. Okay, you know this under NASARA and DASARA, but there is something called a Fair Credit Reporting Act way to get out of debt, or to dispute collections, bankruptcies, and judgments on your credit report. So if you don't want to wait till the jet jubilee and all credit's done away with, which credit is against, it's against God, it's against biblical principles, it's against the Constitution, it's against common law. But if you don't want to wait, then write a 609 letter, a credit according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 609. If a creditor cannot prove that this particular debt or collection is yours by showing you the original contract with your wet ink signature, they have to remove it from your credit report. That's called a 609 letter. I'll briefly show you what that looks like for those of you that are interested. Okay. So first of all, every collection agency doesn't have a right lawfully to collect in your state. So you can even look and see if this collection agency can lawfully collect the debt in your state. And if they can't, you can write them a letter and say, you're not lawfully allowed to collect in my state. So this needs to come off my credit report. Or I'll do you one better, write that 609 letter. It works. I have helped people get off bankruptcies, collections. The bankruptcies are the hardest. Collections and judgments. I don't do it today. I won't do it. I never did it for money because I just didn't enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy it. You know, I enjoyed seeing people be able to buy a home. I enjoy being able to get a car. I enjoy being able to help people. I did it for family and close friends, and they might give me a ticket to a concert, or, you know, make me a meal. I just didn't enjoy it. And I am a certified credit repair specialist since 2017, but I just share that information. I never enjoyed it. I just hate the idea that they have credit collectors out here. But let me show you briefly what that letter would look like. Somebody said, yes, please. And I'll try not to stay on too long, family. Here is a sample. Those you can't see it on Instagram. I'll put it in the description section of my YouTube channel and my Rumble channel. So this letter at the top, and this is what I was taught to do as a credit repair specialist, okay? Certified, okay? A+ rating. At the top, you write Equifax, because you want to send your dispute letters to Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. And so at the top, you want to put their name and the address there. At the very top, on the left top section. And then underneath that, you'll put your name, your address, like I'm Kia Pruitt, my address, city and state. I will put my social security number down there and the date of birth. That's up to you. In this document, I've sent a copy of my driver's license and a copy of my social security card. Now, I know they're accessing my trust. I'm just telling you how to play the game according to their rules. And this is what I've done for people who, I kid you not, God is my witness. These people have been able to buy houses by getting these things off of their credit report by disputing them. And in the letter, I will say, like, dear TransUnion or Equifax representative, I received my credit report and found unverifiable accounts. Okay. Please provide evidence that the following account or accounts belong on my credit report by providing me with the original contract with my wet ink signature. Then I will go on to say, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 609, if an original contract with my wet ink signature cannot be provided, you must remove the account from my credit report. And then I would just go on and tell them, delete the following information. And I would list all the things that were on my credit, my collections and my judgment. Then I would sign it. I would say, delete this with the account number. I would put my signature there. And I will again send a copy of my driver's license and my social security card. I'm not telling you to do this. I'm saying what works. Even in their system, they provide a way for you to work around their system. When I say there's always a ram in the bush, I'm coming from a scripture in the Bible where Abraham was told to sacrifice his son and he was going to do it, but he didn't want to. It took him a lot. Like, I'm going to sacrifice my children to the biblical God, my son, my oldest son, might even been his only son. Well, at some point, the God of the Bible saw his heart and saw that he was willing to sacrifice, like literally offer his son as a burnt sacrifice on the altar to him. So God said, you don't have to do it. Look in the bush. And there was a ram caught in the bush. Abraham was then allowed to sacrifice that ram instead of his son. So that's right. So that's why I say there's always a ram in the bush. God always provides a way. So that's called a Section 609 letter. According to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 609, these agencies have to verify that the account is yours. If you cannot verify that this belongs, and you don't have to use my language, but just use something like it, that this belongs to me. You're not saying it's yours and it's not yours. Don't say that it's yours. If you cannot verify, according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 609, that this belongs to me, you must remove it from my credit report, including judgments. Now, there are some credit repair specialists that will go above and beyond that, and they know how to get into Nexus, Lexus, and remove judgments from there. So you might want to look up experts who you can pay a certain amount of money per month until it's completely taken off your account. Sometimes they'll take it out with the first letter. You know how these people do, though. Sometimes they'll say, we verified your account. No, my darlings. Then you write a second round letter or a second letter saying you did not verify that this account belongs to me with my original contract and a wet ink signature. This debt is unverifiable. Remove it from my credit report. You can even get bold with them and tell them, if this isn't done. Oh, and in the letter, what I didn't remember to tell you, give them 30 days. You have 30 days to verify that this account is indeed mine. They will do it. They will send you a letter within 30 days. They play by the rules. They might say it's verifiable, and then you send another letter and say you have not verified this. You didn't send me the original contract with my wet ink signature. You must remove this. You can tell them, if this isn't done within 30 days, I will take you to court. And I know people that have taken credit reporting agencies and collectors or their representatives to small claims court. When they see that you're sticking to what you know, they'll eventually back off. You might have to eventually write the letter 3 times. So remember, what should this letter look like? Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, you write the letter to one each of the credit reporting units, one to Equifax, one to Experian, one to TransUnion, and one to, yes, all 3 of those. At the top, you write their address, then you write your address, and then, dear Equifax representative, I received my credit report and I noticed that I had these collections or this judgment on my report according to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 609. All the accounts on my credit report must be verified with the original contract and my wet ink signature, or these accounts must be removed. You have 30 days to, these accounts are not verified. You have 30 days to do so. Sign your name, send a copy of your driver's license and social security card. Some people don't do that. I was trained to do that as a credit repair specialist. I'm just telling you how you can survive and thrive in the middle of an economic repression or depression using their rules. So somebody says you can also send a cease and desist letter. Thank you, Lavina. Lavina Meekin says, I write cease and desist letters. Ooh, that's awesome. Sheena says, I have 20 years of banking and I can help people do this if they need help, Dr. Kia Pruitt. You guys go to my Rumble channel or my YouTube. This is on my YouTube channel, Sister Sheena is. Thank you, Sister Sheena. I'll keep my chats up so you can see her information in the chat. Maybe you can drop a website, Sister Sheena, so people can contact you and you can help them write these letters to remove these accounts. So what happens is these debt agencies, these collectors, they buy your debt, they buy this account, but they don't have the original contract. They don't have your wet ink signature. They don't have any of that. That's why you can say, I need you to verify it, supplying that. Let's see. Somebody saying they're getting this. Oh, I love you too, Alexander. Family, I hope this is helpful. So because before I started out telling you all that some of us need to start consolidating instead of watching all of our family members struggle paying, all this rent. You got your son paying rent, your daughter paying rent, your mama paying rent, your grandparent, in this home or paying rent, and she might be single or he might be struggling or they might be struggling. When you can all move together, you're paying $10,000. When you add all those rents together, you could have bought a home. You could have invested in a compound. You could have bought maybe 3 homes together. But some people may say, my credit's not good. And I'm telling you how you can dispute collections on your credit report. Thank you so much for the CashApp family. I appreciate you. Thank you for saying this is helpful. Please keep helping each other. Send information in the chat. Family, that will help us. Oh, I'm so glad it's helpful. So if you want the addresses, because this is something that a lot of people would say, well, I don't know the addresses to Equifax and Experian, etc. I do have that for you. Let me see where it is. I have it somewhere up here. I have the addresses of Equifax, Experian, all of them. TransUnion, and there was a 4th one, but it didn't really take off much. A 4th so-called credit reporting agency. I just had that. I do have it somewhere. Let me see. Credit repair addresses. I'll put it in the description section for you because I just had it pulled up. I think I lost it. Oh, here it is. You can't see it on Instagram, family, but I'm going to put it again on my podcast in the description section. And somebody asked me, where's the description section? If you go to the YouTube channel in that video or the Rumble, go to rumble.com or youtube.com. Look for my is Dr. Kia Pruitt or Dr. Kia Pruitt Official. Go to my channel. Underneath each video, right underneath the video, you'll see a whole description section where I put my Cash App up for anybody that wants to invest in or support my work. And then right under that, I give you all the articles and all the videos that I've used to support my claim in that video. So here, for those of you who are on Rumble or YouTube, I hope you can see that. This is the address. I have the address to TransUnion is in Chester, Pennsylvania, allegedly, because some of these agencies they're not even owned by Americans, okay? They use fake addresses. But anyway, TransUnion out of Chester, Pennsylvania, have the address for that and the fax number, because you can even send letters through fax. I have Equifax. Equifax is in Atlanta, Georgia. Experian is in Allen, Texas. The last time I checked, it's been a while, but that's the last time I checked. I'll show you all that for those of you who are interested. The info will be at the back of the credit report. Oh, thank you. Thank you. And Sister Lavina provides the addresses here for you all. Thank you, Sister Lavina Meekins. I appreciate you. I will also put that information in the description section for you. Thank you, Sister Lavina. I appreciate all of you so much. So we need to do a paradigm shift for those of us who think we can't. Start saying, I can, and ask yourself, how can I? Have an abundance mentality and a positive mindset, knowing that there's more than enough. And know that barriers are illusions. Yes, they put perceived barriers in your community, but you have to work beyond that. And you have to know that you have more power than perceived barriers. And I'm not going to say they may be real for you. I'm saying for me, my ancestor said to me, the moment you realize that barriers do not exist is the moment you will become successful. Barriers are illusions, is what my ancestors said to me. So what I'm saying to you is we have to stop accepting all the things that the government or other people have done and take accountability for our own lives. So we can start consolidating our assets, pooling our resources together. We might start to just think about living together. Think about, if it's for you, entering in a partnership, a companionship, some type of marriage situation, if that's for you. And then that way you can pull together your resources. And if you're not getting what it is you desire, your desired results, then study what it is that you need to do. Like if you need to develop a certain mindset, build up your finances, you lose weight. I don't know. You know what it is you desire, and then you need to qualify for that. You might need to go talk to somebody, a coach, a counselor, a therapist. I don't even like saying the name therapist, because when you break down the word, it's the rapist. I don't like that word. So I say counselor, life coach, a pastor, a priest, somebody, an elder. That's what the elders were for, to advise us. But elders are saying, I don't want to be with the kids. I want to live on my own. And then they wait until they can barely walk. You know what I'm saying? Or they have a fall. Then all of a sudden they want to live with the family, which I get it. Everybody wants to be independent, but the children are suffering. They don't have your wisdom. The grandchildren don't have the wisdom. People I can't live around my family. They're toxic. Have you noticed in the 2020s, 2022, 22, why is everybody toxic or narcissist? If everybody in your purview and your family is toxic and a narcissist, and everybody you know is a narcissist, the common person and everybody around you and in your family is you. Maybe it's not that everybody's a narcissist. Maybe it's not that everybody's toxic. Maybe it's your perception, or maybe there's something you could be doing better. See, we like to put the blame on others. It's more comfortable to say you're the problem, and maybe they are. But what can we do? What can I do to make this relationship better? One of the first things I can do is take accountability for how I show up in the relationship. And I can take accountability for how I respond to you. Everybody's not toxic. Everybody's not a narcissist. We need to pull back from using some of this stuff we didn't even talk about when I was growing up. If there was a problem in the family, you went to the pastor, the elder, the community person, the tribal leader, the shaman, somebody. But in this culture, we get online, we badmouth everybody, we push away, we move away, and we struggle when we don't have to. We're talking about how to survive, thrive, and invest during this economic depression or recession. But this doesn't have to be a recession for you, is what I'm saying. Yes, the prices are higher, but if you consolidate your efforts, if you come together and pool your resources, you can pay one rent, you can pay one mortgage or debt pledge until the system changes. You know how Mexicans do? because I lived amongst Mexicans. I lived in an international community in Louisville. They will all work together, all move together. The mama, the grandmama, the aunts, the uncles, the sister. I know y'all, some of us, I can't do that. But you know what? They put their ego aside. They put their differences aside. They move together. They pull their resources together. The women cook. They support each other. They might work in a family restaurant. The men go out to work. Yes, they work 12, 15 hours a day. And then they all put their money together and they buy that one house. Then they buy that one house. Then they move on to the next house. They do the same thing, buy the house. They move on to the next house. And they keep doing it until everybody has a house or a truck or a car. This is something that some of us need to learn. We need to learn communication skills. We need to learn the difference between being assertive and aggressive. There's assertive, aggressive, passive aggressive, or being passive. Some of us have become aggressive. We only know how to shout, cuss, and scream and call names, call you toxic and narcissist, rather than assertively stating that when you do this or you say that, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I would like for you to not call me a name. I really like it. Instead of, I don't like the fact that you come home late every night. I really like it when you come home at 5 o'clock because 5 o'clock is dinner time. We need to learn communication skills. I really like it when you put gas in my car. I really like it when you wear dresses. I really like it when you wear your natural hair. I really like, being assertive, it works. I use I statements. I can't do a whole counseling session. I can't. Take that back. My bad. I can. I choose not to do a whole counseling session right now because in the interest of time. So aggression can really stir up problems in a relationship, but being assertive is more appropriate and it helps. It's more successful, more effective. Being passive and not saying anything and letting somebody walk all over you is not effective either because it's not good for your mental health. They don't even know that they're hurting you sometimes. Sometimes they don't care because you don't care or you're acting like you don't care. Being passive aggressive, meaning you're not going to say anything, but I'm going to burn your dinner. That's not as effective either. Or I'm not going to let you know how I feel. That's being passive, but I'm being passive aggressive by burning your clothes when I iron them or conveniently forgetting to take your clothes to the dryer. We have to learn communication skills. I have a whole podcast on effective communication. But when you learn communication skills, when you talk to your elders and you have somebody to vent to or somebody to help you with your problems, then you might be more willing to consolidate, to come together and live under one house, or to learn to build a compound or to build these tiny homes in a community with either family or friends. You'll learn to be okay with sacrificing. Maybe if we learn some better communication skills, and what I mean by sacrificing is I'm not going to work 60 hours a week. I might work part-time so I can watch your children, or I might work for myself so I can watch your children, or being a retired woman, I can watch the grandbaby so you all can work. And then you're working, but you're saving on daycare. And now we can use that money to pay bills and we can actually thrive in the middle of recession and not wait on Trump. I can go to the person in my community who knows how to farm or garden and I can buy from them and barter from them. Okay. And that way I'm helping the community. You can even help me learn how to garden so I don't spend all my money at the grocery store and I'm not waiting on somebody to lower the prices. Of course, I want that to happen, but then I'm taking accountability and I'm saying I need to go to talk to lawmakers and put pressure on them or work at the community level. There's always a way, family. There's always a ram in the bush. So once you do this, change your mindset, consolidate your resources, maybe live in one or two homes together, or even if you say, okay, living in one house under one roof is too much, but at least I can move in the same neighborhood. My grandma doesn't need to be all on the West Coast and we're on the East Coast. She could be in the community and help us with these grandkids. You see where I'm going? Or I can build networks outside of my family if they don't want to get on board. I can friends, work in different organizations. Some kind of way we need to get back to community and maybe even think about marriage. It breaks my heart when I hear young women say they're not going to get married because they heard these horror stories on TV Or somebody said, well, that great grandfather had 2 families across the way, but you want to have children and you want to be married, but you're just going to sacrifice because of some stories you heard. No, take accountability, get on board, do what you need to do to thrive. What about the future? Who's going to take care of you when you're 89? Okay. And I'm not telling everybody what to do, but if you decide not to have children, who's going to take care of you? Like, if you want to have children, but you have these fears, I'm talking to you. Think about the future. My children's dad had 8 children and me to take care of them. It was hard. It was a lot. And we had medical facilities, rehab facilities. It was a lot, but at least there were 8 children and me. Okay. Imagine if you have no children, you're going to just be in a nursing home? That's not a way to live. You're not going to, you don't want to pass down your wisdom, your knowledge, or experience with anybody. You don't want to share your life with anybody. I'm just saying, I showed you the chart. Other communities are thriving while some of us are complaining and making excuses and not making good decisions. So learn how to invest. If you want good credit, I showed you that you can dispute judgments, bankruptcies, and collections, and they will wipe them out. They will. You might have to do 3 rounds of letters, but they will take it off your credit report and your score will go up. Then you might want to consider, this is just if you want to play the credit game until credit is done away with. If you maybe maxed out credit cards, or you don't want to get into a credit card, then you can get those cards. Somebody help me. What's the name of the credit card? A secured credit card. That's borrowing against your own money. You can apply for a secure credit card. I think there's one place called Sky Credit. Guys, help me. Capital One does one. A secure credit card, or you can go to your bank, is a $200, $300 card. It's like it's an ATM card. Your money, you put $300 on this card, secure credit, right? And then you borrow against it. So you pay an electric bill, which might be $80, but you got $300 on that money that you saved and you put on the ATM or that credit card, secure credit card. You pay your $80 electric bill, right? You put it on there, and then you make monthly payments on that credit card or on that secure credit. And then over time, you will build up your credit report, because that works as a credit card and your score will go up. So these are like different tricks that you can do if indeed you desire to play the credit game. I don't like credit, but sometimes you got to play the game. So this is how your score will go up, by getting a secure credit card. You want to make sure that you keep your credit card, whether secure or regular, conventional credit card, you want to keep the amount that you put on it at 30% or less. So say they gave you $1,000. You don't want to put more. You don't want to max out. You want to only use 30% of your credit line or less. 30% or less. That keeps your score healthy, and it helps your score go up as you pay on or off your credit card. But if you max out your credit card, or you use more than 30% of the credit card, then your score comes down. So you want to be careful. If you're playing the credit game, you got to learn how to play correctly. So look for different people that will help you. Lexington Law charges $99 a month. You can, and they will drag it out, get stuff off your credit report. Like, it might take a year or so. Get somebody else, you can use them, but you can use somebody you trust. Look up credit reporting agencies. I'll put it in my description section, a list of different credit websites where you can look for people in your state that are certified that can help you do this. Another thing you can do, so that's if you want to play the credit game, is just know that BlackRock, State Street, all these companies, Evergrande, that was owned by the CCP, Evergrande they're dumping houses back on the market. So housing prices will come down. A lot of people won't tell you this. They will. Look for it. Again, sometimes you have to look for certain things. Prices will come down, family. So stay encouraged. As they come down, you'll be able to get in the market. You can wait on the SAR if you desire to, or you can use your credit report, or you can pull your resources as a family or as friends and start to buy now. So let's get back to how they made money during the 1929 depression, was by buying depreciated assets. When I tell people this, they say gold is out of my budget. I used to say gold is out of my budget because gold is like $2,600 an ounce, right? That's if you're buying gold bullion. You can buy gold, family. Remember, I said, instead of saying I can't, ask yourself, how can I? Thank you for the Cash App blessing. You can buy gold for less than $3 an ounce. Did you know that already before we even came into the knowledge that states were repealing the state taxes from the sales of precious metals, there were already 13 states that had legalized using silver and gold to buy local goods and services. 13 states had already legalized silver and gold as legal tender. Those 13 states were, what's UT? Utah, Wyoming, Louisiana, Kansas, Texas, Arizona, Oklahoma, Indiana, Missouri, South Carolina, West Virginia, Arkansas, and Idaho. 13 states that had legalized using silver and gold as legal tender, which means that you can use silver and gold in those 13 states to buy local goods and services. And I'll show you the article right now for those families that, that need to see it. Is this it? Nope, that's a 45 state. So that's the wrong one. I do have it. You can Google it, 13 states that allows you to use silver and gold as money or as legal tender. Here it is. Is that it? Yep. mintstategold.com. Look, states where gold and silver have become legal tender. As early as 2011, states were legalizing the use of silver and gold as legal tender. Okay. I reported about this in 2020. I did a podcast with Dr. Ray Hagan. Some of you know him. Okay. And I talked about how you can use silver and gold as legal tender. A lot of people did not know this, but since then I have reported, and I've been reporting this through the years, that 45 states have reclaimed silver and gold as money. 45 states in America. How did they do that? By repealing or removing the state sales taxes from the sales of precious metals. 45 states. Look up the Sound Money Defense League. The Sound Money Defense League wrote an article to let you know that 45 states have removed the state sale taxes from the sales of precious metals, which means that you can now use silver and gold as money. And they did this in order to align with our Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, that says that the only thing that can be used to pay off debts is silver and gold. One of the latest states is Kentucky, where I raised my kids, my children, to, oops, why do I hear myself? Sorry about that. I see my, oops, that was my podcast. I don't know how I brought that up. So can you all hear me? Please let me know you can hear me. I do have that article up, but let me see where I can find it. 45 states. So when you remove the state sales tax from the sales of precious metals, again, you are acknowledging that precious metals are not to be seen as a commodity like a collectible, but precious metals ought to be deemed as money. I do have the article. I just have to find it. You guys want to see that? Oh, let me see. Let me go to my email. I'll show you the article that talks about 45 states. And I have to soon get out. We're gonna go through this next part real quick. 45 states. I just like to show you all proof and evidence of what I'm saying. Okay, Sound Money Defense League. I'm just looking it up. Here we go. There we go. Thank you, family. Kia, do you have a list of financial advisors that are awake? No, unfortunately, I don't. That was an excellent question. Here's this article. States are restoring silver and gold as money. So you might not see the article if you're on Instagram, but you can look it up. soundmoneydefense.org. State laws can help restore gold and silver as money, as it says. And then it goes on to talk about how 45 states have repealed the state taxes from the sales of precious metals. And I've gone over this article many times, and I've also done many videos on this. So under this particular heading, states continue removing sales taxes on gold and silver. The article states, to date, 45 states have removed some or all state taxes from the purchase of gold and silver. Of the 5 states that still apply this outmoded tax to purchase precious metals, most of them are expecting to consider ending the tax in 2025. So those states that have not repealed or removed the state sales taxes from gold and silver will do so in 2025. Now let me show you how you can get into gold if you're interested. Buy gold or invest in gold for as little as $2.64. Remember what I said. Instead of saying what you can't do, ask yourself, how can I? Where is that? Who is that that's using that? Maybe I didn't bring it up. You can go to, is it Metals Mint? It's metalsmint.com. Hold on, family. I'm going to get it for you. Let me look it up. Let me know what you think about this so far, family. Oh, where is my... I want to show you gold. Gold for less than $3. So again, I told you there are 13 states where you can use gold and silver right now for local goods and services. And then, geez, I lost the website where I had the gold for less than $3. Oh, go to jmbullion.com. Here we go, jmbullion.com, and type in Florida goldbacks, because Florida made an announcement last month that they were going to research whether or not they will start to use gold as money. Well, we know that they've already done it behind the scenes because they passed legislation to repeal or remove the state taxes from the sales of precious metals. And then after they said they were going to do research on this, they came out with and announced a soft disclosure, because I don't think the world knows this yet, that they have just created the Florida goldbacks. You can go to JM Bullion right now. I'm showing it on my, here, let me show you, those of you on Instagram. Can you see that? That's a half of a Florida goldback for $2.65. A Florida goldback. Okay, and they show you others. Right now, you have to order it on pre-sale because they just made an announcement that they are printing out this goldback to be used to buy local goods and services, $2.65. If you create a budget and live off within your means, you may be able to come up with $2.65 to have gold. Let me show you what a goldback is. A goldback, also known as gold aurum, knows AURUM. And I've been saying this for years, but I guess it was hard for some people to understand. And some people are like, thank you, because gold right now is $2,600 an ounce. That's bullion. Okay, but the goldback is 24 karat gold. Some is 14 karat gold. Some is 24 karat gold pressed onto a note. This is 0.999 gold pressed onto a note. It is like 1,000th of a troy ounce of real gold that you can buy local goods and services with which you can buy local goods and services. You see what I'm saying? You can buy depreciated assets right now and have it for the future, because you never know when you're going to need it. You can pass it down to your children, to your children's children, to your posterity. You can go to JM Bullion. Thank you. You can go to SD Bullion. You can go to Metals Mint. You can go to moneymetals.com. You can just type in goldbacks, gold aurum, AURM, gold notes. You can get 14 karat gold pressed onto a note right now for $2.64. I think that's in a lot of people's budget. Yeah, you can become your own banks. Absolutely. I don't know how you would mint your own precious metals. That's just something I don't know about. Somebody says, hi, timestamp says, I know this may sound trite. Why buy gold or metals? Okay, good question. Let me show you why you should buy. You can consider buying gold. You can either buy gold, you can buy silver, like you can buy a silver coin. That's in my budget for like $35, $36 an ounce. When I first bought silver in 2017, it was only $14 an ounce. Do you see the return on my investment I got? It has doubled in the last 7 years. Okay. So why? Because gold and silver are money, real lawful money. We're going to be using gold and silver. We're going to be using dollars or our new currency backed by gold and silver. You'll be using gold and silver or a new currency backed by gold and silver and or digital assets or digital coins in this new reality called the golden age. But I'm going to get to that question. Why? What if that's not in your budget? Then you can consider something called constitutional silver. Constitutional silver are coins that were minted before 1964. You see President John F. Kennedy Sr. on there, minted before 1964. These coins are 90% silver. You can go to your local coin shop, type in local coin shop, coin dealer, numismatics near me, or go to an online dealer. You can use the person with whom I was an affiliate, Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company. If you want to use somebody that I've used, Miles Franklin Precious Metals Company, you can call them at 952-929-7006. Or you can send an email to info@milesfranklin.com. Let them know that you heard about them on Dr. Kia Pruitt Show. They have phenomenal prices. That's why I recommend them. And then you will get the best prices. But you can go to any gold and silver company, family. Okay? Any gold and silver company. Somebody asked, why would I get gold and silver? And I'm going to show you that in 1 minute. So you can get gold notes, you can get gold and silver bullion, you can get constitutional silver, which is coins that were minted before 1964, because before we came off the gold standard, that's 90% real silver. Okay. And those, I think I bought, when I first bought my quarters, my dimes, I can't remember if it was my dimes or quarters, they were like $2 for some. But the prices are going up because people are jumping on board, knowing that constitutional silver, which they erroneously call junk silver, is real silver. Okay, why invest in it? Because every merchant recognizes constitutional silver, coins minted before 1964, as real money. Merchants know that this real money. Now, I'm going to let you listen to a clip of a show. I was listening to Liberty and Finance. Liberty and Finance is a show that I listen to. They also work with Miles Franklin, but I just love them. I love the educators that they bring on. And this particular person that was being interviewed said in Canada, they had a storm or some type of event that happened and they couldn't get to the ATM. People couldn't get their money out. And so they had to figure out a way to barter. So what they did was people used the coins that they had. They used silver. They used constitutional silver or silver to go and barter for gas. This is, you hope that nothing ever happens where you have a storm or, the deep state try to fight back and shut everything down. But if that happens, you can barter with people. You can exchange goods and services, or you can say, I'm going to give you this John F. Kennedy coin minted before we came off the gold standard. That's 90% silver in exchange for, you giving me some vegetables, or in exchange for this service. And again, the gold Arum notes, for those of you who didn't see it, let me show you. If you didn't see it online, 14 karat gold pressed onto a note. It is legal tender. You can buy local goods and services in many states right now. This one here, I bought like 5 of them for $6, but this was years ago. Now you can buy one for $2.64. Real gold, family. Let me briefly let you listen to this presentation by Liberty and Finance. So, I like doing things for entertainment, like looking at certain YouTube channels that are fun, how to grow your natural hair, blah, blah, blah. But in my spare time, what I really like doing is listening to investment channels, listening to Liberty and Finance talk about silver and gold, talk about the markets, stay abreast of geopolitics, because geopolitics affects your investments. What's happening in political races, what's happening all over the world, what's happening in the financial markets, what different people project could happen in the future. I'm interested in that type of thing. So Liberty and Finance produced or published this particular video 3 days ago, and the topic is we're on the verge of a huge collapse. But I want you to go to the 1947-minute mark of this video and listen to what he says about what happened in Canada and how they were able to use silver to buy, I think it was to buy gas. I hope y'all can see that. So I'm trying to bring my Instagram channel family here to see that as well. Let me know what you think about this.
About 2 years ago, and a guy I met when I went in town to find a different internet connection because a third of Canada was out. You couldn't use your credit cards in most places. He used silver rounds to fill his car up. And I have I have goldbacks. I've got, different denominations of gold. You can break these off into little 1/2 or 1 gram bars. I think it's important to have a bunch of those little things just on hand. If something goes out, you can literally pull a round out of your glove box of silver, and you could barter for milk or gas or whatever you need, right? So I don't think the world's going to come to that, but I mean, I don't put it past the United States, the financial systems, because banks have gone bankrupt, things blow up, internet goes down. You can't use your credit card. Doesn't matter how rich you are. You need a physical currency. Crypto's garbage when we have some EMP that knocks out all electronics, you're toast, right? So to me, there's no way to get around it. I think physical is the ultimate currency. Obviously, you need to be able to access it, have it some on hand in case it happens, right?
Definitely. Well, Chris, we really appreciate your time today, as always. Thank you so much, and God bless.
So you heard him say they had some type of emergency situation in Canada. They couldn't get to their ATM. They couldn't get money out. But the people that had silver on hand were able to use those coins to barter with people in the community. Most people know that pre-1964 minted coins are lawful money. And they also know that silver is real money. So that's why I would say it's good to have silver on hand. You can get, we talk about depreciated assets. You can get into digital assets, XRP, XLM, and all that, Ethereum. I don't know all of them. I have podcasts on my channel that talks about them. By the way, if somebody's telling you they're me, asking you to download a wallet, put money into this account in order to get access to the QFS system or digital assets, it's not me. Somebody's posing as me to take money from people. So that's a disclaimer, but learn yourself. But like he was saying, people can access digital as coins. And in fact, in one of the podcasts that I heard this morning, and I know somebody, I know somebody actually personally who said somebody got access to their wallet, they figure out their code, and they stole all of their money. So if you don't hold it, you don't own it. If you get into digital assets, digital coins, know what you're doing. If you have an EMT, some type of blackout, things could crash, or somebody could get access. If you didn't, set the code a certain way, or they figure it out, they can steal your money. But physical assets, you want to have some on hand, and then you want to have some in a hidden place where nobody knows about. So not only was he able to do this in Canada, but for those of you who don't know it, in Venezuela in 2021, people had enough with how hard it was to buy goods and services. So their currency has been depreciated so much and devalued so much with all the inflation and all the sanctions that were put on Venezuela that they took it upon themselves. This is what I mean about taking accountability for who you are, where you are, and for your own life. The Venezuelans took gold pieces, broke off the gold pieces, and started to barter for themselves. Let me see. So in Venezuela, people break off flakes of gold to pay for meals and haircuts. They did this on their own. They decided how much, what pretend. Well, I don't think you guys can see this on my. Let me stop sharing that. They decided on their own what little piece of gold would be enough to buy meat. What percentage of gold do I need to get a haircut? Flakes of gold they use. If they can do it, so can we, family. Local currency, the bolivar, has been rendered almost worthless in their country, the article say, by hyperinflation. So it says, in the barbershops and restaurants and hotels that can constitute the main strip of one dusty little outpost after another, you'll find prices displayed in grams of gold. So the the restaurants, the barbershops, and the different businesses let you know what the prices were in gold. Imagine if you had your own family bank or your own family commune or your community with your church, and you guys set up a system for how much something costs in pieces of gold or pieces of silver with constitutional silver, or using goldbacks. You can do that on your own. But again, local, there are lots of cities and states right now that have legalized using these goldbacks or gold arm notes and silver as money. You can get gold note arms, like I said, for as little as $2.64. You can get constitutional silver, which they erroneously call junk silver, from your local coin shop. You can have gold. Venezuela, they use flakes of gold, pieces of gold, to barter and to buy things. Or you can just say, hey, I'm going to barter my service for your service in exchange for your service. This is the way we can survive and thrive. And you don't have to wait on Donald Trump or the white hats in the military or the Earth Alliance or the Galactic Federation. You can do something by taking advantage of what you have. And if you, again, budget your money, live within your means, pull together resources, live together or live around each other, support each other, take off the burden off of each other, you'll have enough money to invest in depreciated assets. That's all I'm saying. So I'll let you read it here. It says most of the world moved on from gold. That's according to this article in 2021. But in Venezuela, they found a way to use gold pieces to barter for goods and services. I'll leave that article in the description section for you guys as well. That's why you should have silver or gold on hand, because you never know when something's going to happen when you will need to use it. And we're moving to the gold standard. I showed you the article that says 45 states. You like my cover art? Thank you. 45 states have repealed the state sales taxes from precious metals. That means that they're acknowledging gold and silver as money. I don't care what other people say. That's exactly what it means. They're also states are removing capital gains taxes. So when you do go and get currencies, or you go to do an exchange on your exotic or foreign currencies, it's going to be a non-taxable event. So we talked about real estate. You'll be able to buy real estate because Blackstone, BlackRock, State Street, they're dumping houses back onto the market. They can't sell those houses. They can't rent them out, or it's just been too much. People don't have the money. So they're dumping them back onto the market. You can wait till they continue to depreciate in value and you can buy up those assets, or you can save money. I already talked about how to get your credit together in order to do that. Another way to buy depreciating assets, if you're interested in digital coins, I've done a podcast with Mel Carmine. I did a podcast or several with Dave XRP Lion One, and I did an introductory, like how to invest in digital coins 101, like the basics, like that, just telling you what a wallet is, what some of the coins are, how you need to study them, that type of things. I will also encourage you to look for professionals and experts in that area. Some of those coins are really, really low. They cost a little penny. Some of the basics in getting into any investment is understand it, research it. Only invest in what you know and what you can afford. That's why I showed you gold, real gold, 14 karat gold pressed on a note for $2.64. Most people can afford that. Constitutional silver, most people can afford a couple dollars. Okay. Study and only invest in what you understand or overstand and what you can afford. So you might want to get into digital assets while they're low, and then hold and then learn when to sell. All right. What they say, there's a song, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. So you can do that, or you can get into currencies, depreciating assets. Speaking of depreciating assets, you guys know by listening to me and other podcasters who are way more advanced than I, what made the dollar the world reserve currency was our agreement with Saudi Arabia that we would protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil. And then we would force all exporting nations to get oil from Saudi Arabia and use the United States dollar to do so. Those countries then use the dollar to trade oil from Saudi Arabia, and they peg their dollar to either our United States dollar or to the euro. That is what made us the financial powerhouse that made the United States have financial and economic hegemony. But because of Project Sandman, that 209 agreement, were behind the scenes, that secret agreement behind the scenes, that 209 countries agreed to stop trading with the dollar. That decimated the value of the dollar. And they agreed to use their own local currencies for trade, meaning all these countries have established their sovereignty. You have the BRICS nation, that BRIC conglomerate, that bloc, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, to tap on the shoulders of Saudi Arabia to join them. That totally ended the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia. So now that is done. The contracts wasn't renewed as of June of last year to do business between the United States Incorporated and Saudi Arabia. So now we know it's done. And then all exporting nations join Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, that bloc, in leaving the dollar, using their own currencies. That means all these countries have become sovereign. They're taking control of their money, their finances, their economy. So having said that, family, they didn't just do it. You have the Shanghai Corporation, which is a lot of Asian nations that have dropped the dollar and now using their country's currencies for trade. And they're backing it by gold. The BRICS bloc, they had all these countries to join them. They were first called BRICS, then they were called Saudi BRICS, with Saudi Arabia joining them. Then they were called BRICS Plus, and then you had the Shanghai Corporation to do the same. And then that left America to say, what are we going to do? That's when lawmakers started repealing or removing the state sales taxes from the sales of precious metals. Now, when you do that again, you're acknowledging gold and silver as money and saying gold can no longer be seen as a commodity or a collector's item or a relic. At the same time, you have banks buying up gold in record numbers because they're preparing for the gold standard in a global currency reset. Now you also have banks becoming Basel III or Basel IV compliant, which means that they have to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset. They have to recognize gold as a money. That's why King's World printed an article that says the world is hurtling back toward using gold as money. That article came out February 2023. The whole world was doing it, is doing it now. So 45 states in America said, we got to get on board. They removed the state sales tax from the precious metals. Oh, and banks are becoming Basel I compliant, meaning they have to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset. And they had to prepare for the currency revaluation and currency exchanges. The articles that I've shown you in the past state that the reason why banks met globally is what the article says, to make sure they're ready for receiving currencies and doing currency exchanges, because banks that remain will be wealth management centers, and they need these foreign assets that they call tier 2 assets in order to maintain the health of the bank. So in order for banks to stay afloat, to prevent them from being bankrupt, to keep the financial health of the bank, they had to receive your tier 2 assets. They need your tier 2 assets. They need your currencies. So talk about depreciating assets. What made these countries' currencies devalue, like Venezuela, the Venezuelan Bolivar? Was that, again, what made us the world reserve currency was our agreement with Saudi Arabia to protect the Saudi kingdom in exchange for their oil. And then we would force all exporting nations to use the dollar USD in exchange for oil. And they had to get oil for Saudi Arabia. Those were the OPEC agreements. Okay. But if a country decided they didn't want to do that, the United States Incorporated, not to be confused with the Republic of our America, these bloodline families that usurped authority from our country would send the military to those countries and cause a war, declare war, fund both sides of the war. And then their currencies would devalue. We're talking about investing in devalued assets. This is how people in 1929 became wealthy. They invested in devalued assets. During the Depression, they invested in devalued assets. They held on to them. And then when the time was right, they made a good investment. No, I don't help anybody, Alexander, to fix their credit, but I will put a letter in the description section of this video so that you can learn to do it yourself, because you can do it and you will be successful. So if America didn't declare war on those nations that didn't want to trade with the dollar, then they will put sanctions on them, like Biden did with Putin when Putin went to Ukraine to clean out and expose all the laundering that was going over there. Biden put sanctions on Putin. Putin just said, I'll use my own currency, and he used the Russian ruble. And that's why the Russian ruble in 2022 became the strongest performing currency in the world. Okay, but what happened in the past is America would say, you don't want to get your oil from Venezuela, you don't want to use the USA. Oh, you think you big and bad and you're going to have your own currency? Are you going to back your currency up with gold? Or are you going to use gold? Or Africa, you think you're going to have an alliance with each other? The United States Incorporated would send their military over there, and what would happen? They would destroy the economy. The GDP would come down, gross domestic product, and the country's currency would become devalued, whether they did it by war or sanction. Then people high up who knew this was happening, knew how to play the game, got it sometimes, don't hate the player, hate the game. Stop. Sometimes you don't complain, you just play the game, okay? They would go into until things change. They would go into those countries that have been devalued through war. I hear you, Kuwait. It happened in 1991. Devalued through war. The Kuwaiti dinar was $3.64 above the United States dollar. Was the strongest performing currency in the world in the 1990s. But the United States declared war over there. The currency devalued. Then you had presidents of world countries all over the world, presidents of corporations, banking CEOs to buy the country currencies when they had devalued through war or sanction, held on to it, waited till after the war. Then America goes back into the country, rebuild the infrastructure, the GDP goes up, the economy thrives, and then the currency is reinstated back to its normal value. And that's what happened in Kuwait. And all those people that bought the currency once it had been devalued through war, okay, now it's revalued or reinstated back to its normal value, pre-war value. Then those people that held that country's currency, the Kuwaiti dinar, and it's happened with other currencies, went to the bank and got an exchange rate that was higher, and they became millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires overnight. Some of you might say, okay, can we do that now? Absolutely. This is what we have learned. Now the creator has made it so that we know that information. It's not just banking CEOs, corporate leaders, presidents, etc., that have this information. So look at countries that have been devalued through sanctions and war, and consider if you are inclined to invest in those currencies. Friends, family, soul member, please help the family members in the chat and write what type of currencies they might want to consider if they want to get into those devalued assets. So some people might say, well, I've looked into the Zimbabwean Zim, Kia. It used to be $100, $50 for a 100T note. Well, now it's like $999 at some places for a 100T note. Look at lower denominations. You don't have to get the highest denomination of a note. Why should you invest in these assets? Because later on, they will be reinstated to their normal pre-war value, because behind the scenes, all countries have decided to stop trading with the dollar and go to the gold standard and use their own currency backed by the resources that each country has. And then when that happens, all countries' currencies will be one-to-one with each other. We know that these countries have repatriated their gold from the Vatican so they can back up their country's currencies with the gold that they have. I just showed you an article a couple of days ago that says that Burkina Faso just unveiled their first big ounces of gold because they kicked out the French. Burkina Faso, Senegal, Chad, who else? And many of the French colonists kicked out the French. This is causing the French to now suffer economically because these African nations kicked out the French, kicked out their military, and said, we're going to use our own currency and we're going to mine our own gold. Now France is struggling, and France, by a no confidence vote, voted to get rid of their whole financial committee, the vice president and presidents and prime minister of finance in France out of there. And Macron, who is the president of France, is getting pressure on him. He's going to have to step down. Even though he said, I ain't going nowhere to 2027 because my time's not up. They're pressuring him to get out of there because now they can't mine the gold in these French colonies, Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, Chad, Senegal. They got kicked out and their military got kicked out. So now they can't take advantage of the gold. They can't use the kids over there, the babies, to mine gold for them. They're struggling. They got rid of their whole finance committee, and Macron's going to have to step down. It's happening all across the globe. Trudeau had to step down from Canada. Okay, you're not going to continue take advantage of indigenous populations for your own health and well-being. Take care of yourself, these nations are saying. Africa not only kicked out the French, but they said, we're going to take care of our own economy. We're going to mine our own gold. We're going to back up our currency with our own gold. Okay. In the meantime, their currencies are revaluing. That's the revaluation, the global currency reset all over the world. All over the world, this is happening. So you can buy lower denominations of these countries' currencies if it is not in your budget to buy the expensive ones. There is. Got family, put it in the chat where they can go. 100trillions.com, 100trillions.com, Great American Coin Company, safedinar.com, Treasury Vault. There's so many. Google it. Okay. Again, start asking yourself, how can I? Do you have a couple dollars? This is only if you are inclined. I'm talking about how you can survive and thrive during this time period and how you can invest in the future. Gold and silver are a hedge against inflation. Precious metals maintain their value. It's a basic economic principle. As the dollar devalues or goes down in value, gold and silver goes up in value. Now, at some point, gold and silver probably will come down and it'll correct itself, as all markets do, but it will continue to go up because the dollar is devaluing. So back to foreign assets, foreign currencies. You can look at these conventional websites to get currencies, or you can go to eBay, you can go to Etsy. So there's always a way, because you have regular everyday people that are saying, I'm tired of this dinar. I've been holding it for a long time. That's the Iraqi currency. I'm just going to sell it on Etsy. You don't have to trust Etsy. You don't have to trust eBay. You can go with the conventional place. I'm just throwing out options out of there. Or if a person sells the currency, and let me tell you this, it's not just everyday people selling currency on Etsy and eBay. Companies sell silver, gold currency. So you have to do your due diligence to know that they're correct and legitimate. And when they do, they sell them at a lower price on these type of platforms than they do on big conventional mainstream websites. So you can get it there, then ask for a certificate of authenticity, and or you can buy yourself a UV light and you can detect it for yourself and see if this country's currency is valuable, and make sure the country's currencies that you get comes with a guarantee that you can get money back guarantee, or that you can send it back. Do your due diligence. That's why I keep getting some people, I can't do this. It might not be legitimate. Well, then buy the apparatus to look at the currency to see if it's legitimate. Or take it to the bank. They have De La Rue machines to make sure it's legitimate. Or take your coin to your local coin shop. They can see if it's legitimate. You want to, if you get coins, make sure it's like, a troy ounce. But they have half ounces. They have grams. They have gold arum notes. They have even smaller denominations, fractions that you can peel off of paper. There's always a way. And you don't have to get the biggest or largest denomination of currency. You don't have to get it from conventional places. You can get it from Etsy or eBay. You can. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just saying, consider this, study, do your research, have an abundance mentality, do a paradigm shift, know that this can happen. Okay. And speak it into existence, because the moment that you make up your mind, the universe conspires to assist you. Okay. The moment you make up your mind, the universe conspires to assist you. So make up your mind. If you don't have like $100 or $120 to buy a Zim. By the way, on the Zim at the top left-hand corner, it says this is a promise to pay the bearer upon demand, because that Zim bond is printed on government bond paper. It is a bond. It is not even regular currency. Okay. Promise to pay the bearer upon demand. What we're waiting on is a global or an official announcement of the global currency reset and that the world has returned to gold. So what I'm saying is a Zim bond note might be too much. Look for a lower denomination of a Zim bond note. You can buy a $500 million Zim bond note for less than $12. Okay, there's always a way. You can buy a million BND or Vietnamese dong for $68 on eBay. It might be 75 on other places. If $1 million is too much, get the $100,000 note for $20 or $30 or $40, or go to your local coin shop, because there, people selling off their estates will take all their coins and their foreign currencies that their grandma may have been storing up or waiting on to revalue, or just they might have just liked colors of the different countries' currencies because they are beautiful, they sell it for a few dollars. So I'm just saying, family, there's always a way. You can buy Zimbabwean agro checks right now on Etsy for less than $5. And again, some formal, legitimate companies sell on Etsy and eBay. $5 agro checks from Zimbabwe. And if these countries' currencies never revalue, never are reinstated, and it never happens, trade it in, sell it, and get the money that you put in it. Okay. All I'm saying, family, is there is always a way. There's always a way to make do and survive and thrive. So having said that, family, I hope I said something that is helpful. I'm looking for ways and sharing with you ways that you can invest, survive, and thrive. Have an abundance mentality, do a paradigm shift if you need to, know that there's more than enough. Then you want to create a budget, live within your means, consider consolidating with your family, consider consolidating bills, consolidating debt, consolidating your money, pooling your resources together, consider living together, consider marriage as an opportunity, or enter into a covenant agreement with a companion or with your family or with friends. Consider living, if you don't want to live in the same house, in the same area, so that you can barter with each other and take some of the financial and emotional strain off of each other, so that maybe you can babysit in exchange for them cooking a meal for you. Or maybe if you babysit, they can go out to work and then they can bring that money home and they can put it in the pot. Consider being your own bank and having your own wealth by buying silver and gold. I showed you that gold, you can buy gold RM notes or goldbacks for as little as $2.64. It's real gold pressed onto a note, 14 karat gold. It's 0.999 pure gold, 14 karat gold pressed onto a note. This is real gold. Get get constitutional money, which coins that were minted before 1964. It's lawful money, real coins. You're welcome, timestamp. God bless you. Because I showed you where in Canada, they had a situation where everything went out. The ATM stopped working. People that couldn't go get money, credit out the bank. The credit cards weren't working, but some people had silver on hand, or constitutional silver that people erroneously called junk silver, and they were able to barter for gas using silver. Let me tell you something. Merchants know that silver and gold is money. It's us that didn't know it. Already, I've shown you the articles that as early as 2011, there were 13 states since 2011 and on that were already using silver and gold as legal tender to buy local goods and services. Recently, Florida has come out with Florida goldbacks. You can get on a waiting list and do a pre-sale. They're having pre-sales right now on many of these companies' websites where you can buy a Florida goldback to buy local goods and services at my state, the free state. Those goldbacks are $2.64. We can afford that. When I got into the gold RM note thing, I bought 6 of these, 5 or 6. I think 5 of these for $6 or $7. Now it costs more, but it's worth it. Family, where there's a will, there's a way. The moment you make up your mind, the universe conspires to assist you. Thank you so much for listening, family. Consider buying depreciated assets. Once you look into budgeting and live within your means, consolidate, get out of debt if you need to, if you're interested before the debt jubilee. I talked to you about how you can dispute collections off your credit report. No, I don't do that any longer. I only did it for friends, close friends and family when I was in it. I am certified. I don't like it. I don't know why. I just don't like it. I just don't. I talked to you how you can get a secure credit card if you don't want a regular credit card, but we will have a debt jubilee. Okay. Zero Hedge came out with an article that said that we will have a jubilee of biblical proportions. Thank you for the CashApp, Cameron. God bless you. Have a smile on you. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all of you. And anybody that wants to give, thank you so much. My CashApp is $Mama Kia, MAMAKIA 13. That's $Mama Kia 13. So look at this article, family. And if you can't see me because you're on Instagram, you're not connected to this StreamYard, look for an article that says, that is printed by or published by Zero Hedge, that says a debt jubilee of biblical proportions is coming. Are you ready? And it talks about how in ancient times, people became hopelessly indebted to their creditors. As debts mounted, social unrest would boil over, threatening the stability of the entire ruling system. So the rulers of the ancient world understood that this dynamic could be extremely explosive and dangerous. So they enacted what's called a debt jubilee, where they let them go free and forgave all the debts. This practice spread throughout the ancient world and became codified in various societies, and it has remained to this day. Many economists right now are saying the only way out of this is a debt jubilee, and that's forgiving all debts. For those of you who understand or overstand Nasara and Jasara, you know that is a component of Nasara to completely wipe out all the debt. Even if gold is being put forth to pay off the debt, gold will revalue. Some economists say between $10,000 and $100,000 an ounce. Some argue and say that can't happen, especially if you're a Keynesian economist. But Austrian economists say it could happen. Gold will revalue because they're paying off debt. Okay, they're going to do some debt jubilees, but they might pay some of the debt off. So as the dollar depreciates in value, gold appreciates in value. Speaking of debt jubilees, Russia has already promised African nations to forgive and write off all their debts and to give them grains and military support in exchange for Russia and African alliances joining forces against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, the bloodline families. So it's happening. We are going to have a debt jubilee. You're welcome. Knife Child says, thank you for explaining. You are welcome. It is my greatest pleasure. So we will have one. But no, family, in the interim, you can survive and thrive right now. Okay, that's what I came on to tell you today. And then finally, I want to show you this article that says, who did I tell you this King's World article? That says the world is hurtling or rushing back to using gold and silver as money. You guys can look it up, kingsworld.com. And you will see, or just type in or Google, the world is hurling back towards gold as money. This article actually tells you that Vladimir Putin went to the Ukraine, caused a war. They don't tell you he was exposing all the dirt that was going on, all the laundering that was going on, sent that information to James Comer, who is the chair of the House Oversight Committee. So you can go to oversight.house.gov, type in Biden and see all the evidence the chair of the House Oversight Committee has against Biden. Then you can go to the Supreme Court website and look under the Brunson brothers case and look at all the evidence against Biden. So all I'm saying is this article actually talks about how Putin went to Ukraine. Remember, I said there was a trigger. There was Project Sam as an agreement between 209 nations to stop trading with the dollar and use their own currencies backed up by gold and silver for trade. When triggered, that trigger was Vladimir Putin. So this article just says Putin went there, he caused the war, or he did whatever he had to do in the Ukraine. And then some nations understood that Biden was upset, put sanctions on Putin, and they started to become worried about their stability, their economic and financial stability. It doesn't go completely into detail about why these countries made their decision to rush towards gold, but I told you Putin was that trigger. Then he started using the Russian ruble. His Russian ruble became the highest or strongest performing currency in 2022. He then used his ruble to help other nations start trading with his ruble for oil. And then he inspired Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa to stop trading with the dollar. And he encouraged Saudi Arabia to join BRICS. BRICS became BRICS Plus. Saw BRICS. Then he inspired other nations to join BRICS, and they became known as BRICS Plus. Then Vladimir Putin offered grains, offered military support to African nations. Some African nations rejected and said, we good. But they did. Most of them took him up on it. And he also inspired countries to use their own currencies backed by gold and silver instead of the United States dollar. And at the same time, these countries, oh man, I went over my 2-hour period. I'm so sorry. At the same time, these countries repatriated their gold back from the Vatican. So that's why we can see and prove that King's World is telling the truth, that the whole world is rushing back towards gold as money. So that's it, family. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. My desire is for us all to not only survive, but to thrive. My name is Dr. Kia Pruitt, family. I hope you have a wonderful Friday. Yay! And go out and implement some of the things about which we spoke today. I hope you have an amazing day. Go out and make this a great day, family. I'm Dr. Kia Pruitt. I trust that I've said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Peace, family. I love you so much. Bye-bye. If you're on my Instagram channel, then please, you can go to my YouTube channel. You can go to my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel at Dr. Kia Pruitt or at Dr. Kia Pruitt Official and look for all the articles and videos that we talked about or used in today's podcast for yourself so that you can catch yourself up on the geopolitical and financial news. That's it, family. It's so good to see everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Now I got to figure out how to get out of here. Peace.